Good afternoon. It is Thursday. I can't believe it's already the 24th of August. It is crazy that summer is almost over, so we're enjoying it. It was supposed to be really excessive heat here in the Midwest, like it has been with excessive heat warnings. And so we were really prepared for everything we needed to do for the cats. And luckily, Minnesota hit 98 degrees, which was a record earlier this week. And I think it was like 113 heat index, which I know is hard to complain about when I've heard like Kansas City was 130 heat index. But luckily, this bubble of the heat stopped right at our county line. So as I talked about the other day in my live post, luckily, we've only been seeing like 70 and 80 degrees. It's been humid, but definitely overcast the last few days as well. So we haven't seen that excessive heat, which I'm really, really thankful for the staff and the animals. So anybody else going through it right now, I apologize. Want to do a weekly wrap up today, and a lot of stuff you guys have been following all week, so you probably already know a lot of this. I think the first question is, how's Taras doing? Taras, after his vasectomy, is doing extremely well. It is a minor invasive surgery with 2 small cuts, so even a lot less invasive than a neuter. So he was with Lacia during recovery because these 4 cubs do not want to be apart for a second. And as Dr. Kushner, Therese, and I were down there, Taras was laying against the shared wall where Stefania and Prada were on the other side, and then Lacia was with him, and Lacia was groggy coming out of surgery. Stefania had her paws underneath. I am starting again. I am sorry that we're having Wi-Fi issues here, even in the office. It's just challenging all the time when we've paid so much for Wi-Fi and it still goes down inside the building. So I appreciate all of your patience, but Taras and his siblings are all 4 merged back together. It's weekly wrap up. Thank you guys back. But they are back together, doing well. There's not a lot of post-operative care we need to do. We'll, watch those incision sites, but it's not in an area where he would stretch the muscle or something like that, and that he could tear open the incisions. So all in all, it's really low impact for him, so that's awesome. The interesting thing is, we were discussing this prior to his vasectomy, is that out of all the species of cats, when you do vasectomies, and I think it's because you do more on lions because of them dropping their mane if you neuter them, that a lot of times there's a chance for regrowth in the vas deferens, and then they can procreate again. So we received messages from zoos, sanctuaries, and others that have had accidental births after a male vasectomy. But the good news is that the females that we have in the pride are spayed. And so it's not just that we do a vasectomy and we leave the females intact. The females, all the Prada, Lacey, and Stefania have already been spayed too. So even if there is regrowth back, we can't reproduce, and that's our goal here. We are a sanctuary that doesn't buy, breed, trade, or sell, and the animals we have here in captivity have no conservation value. So that's good news there. Another good thing is Erin, the cheetah, is settling in great. She was a little nervous, very nervous, I should say, of the boys in the beginning. And she had never eaten off tongs before, and now she's eating off her tongs. She still likes eating on her table. She's coming in and out using her indoor building, which we were told she was really adverse to at the facility she came from. They gave us so much information, which really helped us care for her. She's got a good appetite. She does not have gastritis as of yet, like the boys do. So to see solid poop in a cheetah yard is like something we've never seen here at the sanctuary, since most of the retired boys have gastritis. And then today, I actually went down to feed Dash some Supreme treats, and Kiara, the dog, decided to follow. And she only goes into red zone when she's with me. And so she went in, and Aaron was very interested in her and not at all intimidated by Kiara. Actually thought Kiara should be a good meal, but so much so that she was so focused on Kiara that when I walked around the habitat by the boys, Aaron went along the shared wall so that she could be close to Kiara, and the boys were right there, and it seemed, since they had a common enemy or prey species, the dog, that was safely on the outside of the fence and on the road, they were near each other without any qualms at all. And Kiara seemed to be a little annoyed that she was their focus, but so that's an improvement. But there isn't a love connection yet, and that's okay. We just are happy that Erin's settling in nicely. She's not overstressed. She's using all areas of her habitat. She does have a favorite spot way up front, just like the boys have that favorite spot way up front. And people have asked, are we going to give her a manger like the boys? Well, what we're deciding to do for the winter months is not moving the boys up, because Lavani, definitely any new stress could cause some issues. We're not going to move them up to quarantine this year. Instead, they're each getting 2 rooms in their building with kind of a hole cut out so it feels bigger than 2 smaller rooms, so that both Aaron will have 2 rooms and the boys will have 2 rooms. Those are painted bright colors, and we're also going to give them outside insulated, really large den boxes. So we'll be taking away the boys' manger for the winter and doing insulated den boxes with heat. We still want them to use the rooms, and they'll be locked in during really cold temps, but we want them to be able to stay out in their habitats, and they like to go down front. So that's kind of what the plan's going to be for the winter, and then we're always willing to move, change as necessary. You know, if we have a really, really bad winter, or if they're not using the dens and the heated buildings to the best use. So also you saw in Judson's live post that Lloyd, Savannah Lloyd, and Serval Fiona and Serval Bruno are fully merged. It is going great. I saw Fiona and Bruno up in their lockouts. Now I think Fiona's holding a little bit of a grudge because she was a little standoffish when her and Bruno were first merged, but after a while they became sister-brother, and then after that the relationship kind of developed into boyfriend-girlfriend, and we saw them snuggling. Well, now Lloyd and Bruno are kind of like this, so Fiona's a little bit on the outskirts because she isn't really accepting Lloyd yet, but based on her history, I think she'll end up really accepting both, and we'll probably see a cuddle puddle of all 3 just versus 2 at a time. Fargo next week is going to, he's been in a kind of a temporary indoor area in bungalow, the bungalow with Dream, Kisa, Bonsai, and Felix, and Dream's been really interested in him through the shared wall, and then next week he will have a full kind of merger into that group, so send good vibes that they all do very well. And then Fargo, hopefully we'll get to see him more on camera and things. Serval Nunda is still one on our kind of watch list. She is still very, very picky with food. She's been picky her whole life, but at end of life, it's more challenging to keep weight on her, especially with renal disease and things like that. So we're watching her. She's behaving kind of the same way she has been, but she's still just really a picky eater. Baby had been really picky with food, but more so he's searching for his meds. He does not like his Caesar medication at all. He's a little picky about his pain meds, but not as much as he was with his seizure medication, so he's really turning his nose up at it. So we had a veterinary meeting today, and what we're all agreeing with is that the most we can do for Baby is give him the best quality of life, and that means we want him to enjoy food. We want to make sure that we know he's not eating, not because he doesn't like his medication, but if he's not eating because he's not feeling well. So we are having ground turkey be what we call no med diet. So he always knows he can eat that turkey and not have to worry about biting into an icky pill, so that he's still consuming foods. Then we'll try his pain meds will be his next priority. Of course, they always get creative about making sure he'll try and take those, but we don't want him to go off food because he's worried about searching for meds. And then the third would be his seizure medication, which is the hardest to get into him. And we know with the seizure medication, we're just treating the seizures, but we're not treating the cause. And so I've said is, I want him to be comfortable. I want his pain meds on board, and I want him eating and not always being hungry, but then not wanting the food because there's meds in it. And so we know the seizure activity could change, could increase, could be where we have to make a life decision. But I just would rather have him live less days, enjoying them to the fullest, than more days being hesitant of us and hesitant to eat, and all that. So it's spending as much time as I can with him. I just adore that Bobcat so much. He is my heart. So I will keep everybody posted on that. On the other note, we've been planning Tiger-thon. As you guys know, that is a fundraiser that comes up in September. So we've been working with donors to see if they'll commit triple funds for that. And then we hopefully have some exciting news, exciting live posts. We're also planning that VIP event, that is already sold out. I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 spots left, but sold out for September, where people can come on site and also go to a gala. So that's great. Argentina update. I wanted to give an update because I haven't for a while. It's not that we're not working on it, we're not moving on it, but Argentina tigers, as we talked about, we still have not heard back on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife permit. We know they are backed up. We know we got really expedited process for the lion cubs because of the war, because they were babies, but most of all because they were CITES 2. The CITES 1 species takes a lot longer through the permitting process. So it can be 12 to 14 months. We applied for that in February, so we're at the 10-month mark. So we followed up a few times, haven't heard anything. We believe when it finally gets through the system, it will be approved, but there's no guarantees, So the girls were still waiting on the next time. This, and there we go. Sorry, this internet, the phone's getting really hot. So we are going to, we're waiting for the results. We do know the screwworm that Violeta had in her mouth, which was almost preventing her from coming, and we didn't think she would come to America, has been surgically removed, doing great, looks beautiful, but they need to do follow-up tests because she also had anemia, and they don't know if that's from the screwworm, not likely, could be more so from kidney disease and things like that. So when they do the next exam, we'll have more information on Violeta and if she's healthy enough to travel. And then Lucy's been doing great. And so once we get that permit, it's still, I would say, 4 months before they travel here. So this is a long process. And we're not going to plan any of the travel until that permit is in hand. And then once this permit is in hand, Argentina has to look at that paperwork and issue a permit. They have to do health certificates. That's when they'll do the final exam. They have to transport a long way to the airport. And so we're looking at the beginning of next year, and most likely they could travel probably in January, but we don't want to do that in the cold. So we're in contact. It is a slow process. It is something we continue to work on, and we'll continue to keep you updated. The Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance Conference is coming up in October, and so Gina's been working diligently on that. I'm presenting. Meredith, who was formerly at IFA, who you just saw visit here with Dr. Kushner, she's presenting on how to do an international rescue. Dr. Kushner's presenting on his work in Ukraine. Gina will be there. All the sanctuaries will be there, so it'll at least get to be reunited when it's not heavily work vet day. Most of you saw Dr. Kushner, and if the Lions remembered him, I would say Prada definitely remembered his game and the actions, and that was really fun to see. The others probably remember him, but he's familiar, kind of like we are. But the most important thing is that it meant a lot to see Dr. Kushner and Meredith too, get to see the cats they help rescue. That is just amazing. And then I'm working on communications. We have several cases pending, and we want to be ready to be able to share the news once we are able to on certain cases. And so I'm kind of drafting that to get ready. Hopefully can share some of the cases we're working on and that we're able to provide homes for more animals. And then we're looking at moves for the winter. You know, we were hoping Gino and Sophie had a love connection or mother-son connection, and it hasn't happened. So we might consider getting him back with Alyssa on a shared wall. We're looking at, you know, where everybody should move to if we get new residents and where they should be for the winter, even if it's not their final move, based on ages, based on if they have mobility issues, things like that, or based on who we might want to merge in the future and getting them close side by side. So that was a big thing today. And then we're already preparing for what the list is for winter to have ready, whether it's, you know, more room to rooms, new boiler systems, things like that. So even though it's the end of August, we're preparing for winter because it can come as early as the end of October here. And so that's kind of my big update. I stayed overnight this week here, and it was nice to be able to see Ashes, the Bengal who lives in the volunteer center. She kept me up most of the night, and I almost broke my own rule and let her into the bedroom, but Ashes is known and is here for territory urination, and she pees on the bed and couches, so I didn't do it, but because I don't want to have us or donors pay for new couches and new beds. But speaking of Bengals, you know, more requests from Bengals came in. We had a request from Humane Society that had 2 Bengals surrendered, very shy, territory urination, things like that. They just really, really wanted them to go to a sanctuary and finally get a good life. We were full, as you know. I can't tell you the amount of calls. Wildcat Ridge was full, and luckily, because we also network with Cedar Hill Animal Sanctuary, Mississippi, Cheryl reached out to them from Wildcat Ridge, and they've taken Bengals for us in the past, not, you know, as many as we have, but I'm just so thankful they said yes, and I know they'll give these cats a good home, and I'm so appreciative of the Humane Society. They are working with volunteers and everything and getting those cats to be driven to Mississippi, which is huge. Usually it's Cheryl or I picking them up, paying for their vet, their health certificate, paying for the transport or driving them or flying them, and to have the Humane Society do it down in Iowa is just amazing. We also got a call on another Bengal lady in the car that was on her way up here to surrender for territory urination, and Sally was here and was able to give her some options, but she'd already reached out to Great Lakes Bengal Rescue and all the rescue groups, and nobody has space. So, you know, the Bengal problem continues and continues and continues, but really we cannot overtax ourselves. We always push ourselves to the limit, and we have cats like Tiger in the trailer, and we have Ashes in the Welcome Center. You know, the intern houses have 2 Bengals. We have Bengals everywhere, still in quarantine. You know, Topper's still in the Bengal quarantine area, but we can't make it so that we negatively affect the quality of life for cats in our care. And so again, we're really focused on saying yes to those early generation Bengals where domestic rescues and foster programs can't help. But you know, we're still networking, and I just really appreciate our relationship with so many other sanctuaries for the big and the small cats. Working together is really what's going to make the most impact on all of this. So, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend. If you're in the heat zones across the United States, please stay cool, take care of yourselves and your animals, and I will see you again next week.